Well, let's talk something a bit different this morning in part 3 of the program. Well, from tailoring to carpentry, baking to electrical work, vocational training is giving thousands of young people the tools to rewrite their stories, offering not just skills but independence as well as reducing the country's unemployment in Nigeria. With the right policies, partnership, and sustained commitment, experts says vocational education can become not just an option, but a foundation for national progress in Nigeria. Now, joining us for this conversation is Human Capital Development Strategist, Oluchi Sonny Ibe. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Thank you so much.
You look quite beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, let's kickstart with this vocational training. Can this bridge this gap in the unemployment rate that we have in Nigeria at the moment?
Of course, absolutely. If you go by research, according to the MBS report, 2020 and 2022, it goes to show that Nigerian warehouses a citizen of about 220 million, and 60% of the 220 million comprises of the youth. Now, that's about 132 million youth in Nigeria. Then out of the 60% that comprises the youth, 45.2% of this range are unemployed, and then the youth category. Vocational studies, skill enhancement will, of course, because going by Rwanda, Singapore, you can draw analogy from this particular country who has developed their youth in the area of human capital development. They have invested in their youth, and it has also placed their youth in the global landscape.
Okay, let's speak education now, because reading through your profile, you are also an educational activist. So some weeks ago, the federal government came out with a report or with an announcement that unless you are 16 years old, you will not be allowed to enter into the university. What is your opinion on that?
Thank you very much. Yes, this particular pronouncement is grounded under research too, because we work with data. According to the Minister of Education, because when you roll out policy, you look at the objective surrounding the policy. The objective surrounding the policy was tiny to the World Health Organization report of 2020. Yes, for a child to, the Minister of Education, Dr. Lausa, opined that for a child to venture into a tertiary institution, such a child must show cognitive maturity. Such a child must also show readiness in terms of academic. Now, when you go to World Health Organization, for any human being to attain cognitive age, you must have attained the age of 16. And within the university environment, you are engaged in conceptualizing, hypothetical thinking, which, of course, without you getting to that age of 16, the cognitive age, it becomes quite difficult. What happens in university is quite different from what we have in the secondary school environment. So
why the rush from parents? Because for the minister to come out with that policy statement, it means that there's a push from a particular region. So why the rush?
That's why you have regulators. Yes, the education minister, that particular office, tend to regulate most of what happens in the environment. But you will not rule out of the fact that we have some special children. We have some children who are exceptionally brilliant. Now, in such situation, because some parents will tell you that their children are exceptionally brilliant, their children can have the capacity, they have shown it in terms of their academics. So in that situation, such child can be adopted, such child can be admitted, but there must be critical documentation. Such admittance must be backed up with documentation to show that child has actually shown readiness in terms of academic. That child has also shown readiness in terms of the academic rigor within the university landscape.
Let's go back to vocational training now. In today's world, it's all about technology, AI, and whatnot. Do you think that in our country today, we are pushing that as regards vocational training? Because many times you see vocational centers and you're still seeing sewing, baking. You rarely see things like AI and computer software development.
No, I must give it to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because recently he rolled out a policy encouraging human capital development geared towards the youth. Yes, for me, the program trained about 550,000 youth. Now, this policy, investment in vocational study tend to be the new word. Yes, Vocational studies, because some people will tell you that vocational study is meant for dropout from the university. That is totally unacceptable, because we see university graduates venturing into vocational studies. Vocational studies, going to learn how to sew, or how to become tech expert, or learning how to bake. You see them owning the market space. They are doing exceptionally well. So having education is like, having the right capacity to take certain decision, the right acumen to be able to launch yourself as an entrepreneur.
But do you think that vocational training can suffice, is a good alternative to tertiary education? Or would you say that still have tertiary education, still go to the university and have your master's, but also have some kind of vocational training?
Thank you very much. I think from the secondary school level, we can begin to make amend in terms of the curriculum, by adding or injecting vocational studies into the secondary school. Because for me, you must also have education. Education tends to give you that cognitive presence. Education tends to give you that self-awareness, that critical impulse, because you need it to be able to manage your business. You need it to become an entrepreneur. You need to be educated. I'm here today to speak on this topic because I have basic knowledge. I have basic presence of education. Education, you need education across board, across every level. Education tends to open yourself as a critical thinker, as one who can take leadership role, as one who can thrive in the business environment. You
have a meeting with these young people. How willing are they to learn some of these vocations that we have in the country?
Brilliant. At EduSage Consult, what we do is to encourage youth to go into vocational studies, vocational training. We tend to encourage you to take leadership position, because of course the youth of today becomes the leaders of tomorrow. And yes, by becoming an entrepreneur, by becoming an employee of labor, you are gradually becoming the leader of yourself, because you take leadership position from that perspective. So we also have a program coming up very soon, first quarter 2026, where we're also going to be warehousing some group of youth. It's a mentorship into mentoring youth into becoming leaders of tomorrow.
Yesterday, there was a new story that came out, and this is also related to my first question about the age. So going into GS1 now, the Minister of Education now said you have to be 12, or the child has to be 12. Meanwhile, people like me entered secondary school when we were 10 years old. Going through social media, we saw a lot of parents saying, no, that's not fair. What is your opinion on that, seeing that you're also a parent?
For me, I tend to align, I'm so aligned with the law, because in most of these regulatory offices, we have people with the right capacity to go through. Before a policy comes out to the fore, it must have gone through some critical reasoning, critical reviews, and analysis. For every child to get into a particular level, be it primary school, secondary school, we must follow the regulatory policy. If you say 12 years, of course, we must stick to it as parents, because when you go to other clients, we go there and we respect what is present in terms of their law, in terms of their regulation. So for me, a child should get to that ripe age. 12, secondary school at 12 is appropriate enough, because most of these policies are well grounded under research.
Some parents in Nigeria today will not agree with you. Today, some students in Lagos are writing common entrance. And when you check their ages, some are 9, some are 8, some are 10. You hardly see this 11, 12.
That's where you have the regulatory.
So here's the problem. So at what point can we put these policies in place, and school owners can ensure that they implement all these policies in tandem with what the government is saying?
Absolutely. The school owners, both private school owners and public school owners, have got their roles to play. That's why the regulatory bodies, for me, you must work in tandem with those. They must continue to regulate most of these policies to ensure that they are fully implemented. It's not about having policies at the implementation stage. If your child decides to write WAEC at age 8, that's fine. You sit and probably learn some skills or learn some studies before venturing into secondary school. You must attain that particular age, which has been politicized, which has been made into policy. You understand? So these policies must be well followed up, because they were well thought after. They went through certain level of regulation and research. 12 years for me is appropriate enough, because at that particular age, your child is aware, your child is ripe enough to be able to venture into secondary school.
In summary, or rather conclusion, speak to the young people now. For a young person that wants to take hold or take ownership of their life through vocational training, what would you say to them?
Thank you very much. Vocational study, don't see yourself as a less person or as a lesbian, vocational study is the way to go. Having a skill, you know, a skill, to be skilled aware, having a skill, you tend to thrive more in the global village. So you having that skill, even at the very right age, is appropriate enough because it will launch you into becoming an entrepreneur tomorrow.
Absolutely, it's a fine place to leave it. Having that skill is crucial to national development,
Absolutely.
and even to self-development.
Absolutely.
And you were proud of yourself.
Absolutely.
Let's leave it on that note.
Thank
I will say
you.
many thanks for joining us
Thank you.
on the program. This
Thank
one,
you.
Human Capital Strategist Oluchi Sonny Ibe. Thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we'll talk about what the president says about charging the governors to ensure that there is more dividends of democracy to Nigeria.